Good afternoon. I'm Ben Wheeler, and it is Friday, the 22nd of November, which means it is just 5 weeks till Christmas. The end of 2024 is hurtling by, and we are going to be jam-packed for the show today. Before we begin, I am in Brisbane today. I'm on the land of the Turrbal people, so I'd like to pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. We're going to be talking about our stat of the week, which is the most recent figures on the wage price index. We've also got hot jobs across Australia, New Zealand, and the UK. And we're going to be joined by Nick Cantor, the co-founder of the business called The Walk Agency, to discuss a very hot topic, the 4-day working week, before we move on to our usual social media poll. So let's get into the stat of the week. So the wage price index, what is it? So it's run by the Australian Bureau of Statistics, and it's figures that are put out essentially to talk about the changes in the price of labour. And this figure that you can see here is coming out just to talk about the most recent change as of September. So it's currently sitting at 3.5%, and it has slowed. It's coming off a peak in December 2023 of 4.3%, which interestingly was a peak for 15 years. So what we're seeing is a slowing down in the increases in the changes in the price of labour. And I would say as well, looking at the UK and New Zealand where we have offices, that it is a trend that we're seeing there as well. So anecdotally, around changes to salary increases, we're seeing when people are making a move, what we typically saw early part of this year, certainly last, is that you would get quite a significant uplift in terms of salary, maybe 10, even 20%. But those increases, I must admit, from what we're seeing, have slowed, and a focus has moved more towards the other aspects, which at the moment seems to be stability, what candidates looking for, and training and development. So organisations that are looking to attract staff are focusing a bit more on that. And I would say that the increases that we've seen in the last couple of years are clearly slowing down. They haven't stopped, but it is definitely a slowdown in the wage increases. So moving into our job section, we've got a course coordinator in ACT, 55 per hour. And we're looking for someone to plan, schedule and manage academic courses, support facilitators. And if you're interested in that role, you can reach out to Nicole, whose contact details are below. Our next role is an accounts payable manager. Sydney CBD, we're looking at a salary range of 130 to 140. We are looking for someone who's got quite a bit of experience for this role. And if you are interested, please reach out to James Dalton, again, whose details are below. And looking at some roles overseas, we've got some roles for New Zealand and the UK. So working holiday job section. So part 2 of an architectural assistant, which is an interesting title, but certainly is a role that I know they're actively seeking for very quickly at the moment. So we've got a salary of 35,000, just up to 39,500. And if you are interested, please do get in touch, because I know that's quite an urgent position. We've got a solicitor role in the UK in London, salary to be advised, so please do reach out to find out more, and a people and cultural advisor based in Auckland, 90 to 110,000. Again, please do get in touch if you'd like to find out more. Hi, Nick. Welcome to the show. Really appreciate you joining
Thank
us.
you.
So you're here to talk about the 4-day working week. I know it's gained a lot of traction. I know you've been very involved in the media and that. But before we begin, could you just tell us a bit about your organisation, the Walk Agency, which I understand you're a co-founder of?
Yeah, correct. So I co-founded the Walk Agency nearly 10 years ago. We're in our 10th year now, and recently expanded onto the Sunshine Coast. So we now have offices in Melbourne and Sunshine Coast. We're an integrated marketing agency, so we do a wide range of things, but really it's about kind of driving business growth for our clients.
Great. And your involvement then in the 4-day working week, can you tell us a bit about your experience with that?
Yeah, so this was an idea that I wanted to get involved in probably over 20 years ago. It always made sense to me that if we could distribute work better, if we could take the overwork culture and spread that work amongst more people, we could alleviate stress on the health system, we could distribute wealth better, we could create more jobs. It just made so much sense to me, but it's not easy. And so it was always just like a dream idea that I had. And in August of 2022, the 4-day week global team were launching a trial of the 4-day week, and I thought we could actually do that. So we did that with some help from the academic researchers behind that. And yeah, we realized that there was a lot you could do to evolve the way you work. And really, coming off the back of the lockdowns, as it were, in Melbourne, I think there was never a better time to really evaluate how you work and what you ask of your staff.
And what are some of the challenges? Because I know you mentioned there's quite a few. It's not easy to do this. What are some of the biggest challenges you saw?
So the model we were trained on is called 100, 80, 100. So that is 100% pay for 80% of your time for 100% productivity.
Okay.
How do you do that?
Yeah.
Where is the 20% that you can get rid of in terms of time? What's not making an impact? And that was really challenging to identify the opportunities within work that were inefficient and to really shift the focus to productivity. That's what it was really about at the end of the day. What actually impacts the business or our clients' businesses? And so one of the things we were trained to do was work with each staff member to define OKR, so objectives and key responsibilities. What is the guiding light for your job? How do we measure your progress towards that? And it's kind of a stubborn way of viewing productivity, and it works really well. It's not easy defining OKRs for roles. You know, for some people, we have designers, writers, developers. Some of those things aren't necessarily trying to launch satellites, you know, so how do you define OKRs? That was quite hard. And as I said, we did this kind of on the tail end of the lockdowns here in Melbourne. That's a time when we're asking people to really step up the performance in their role when maybe they weren't really necessarily wanting to do that. Maybe they're wanting to take their foot off. There was the whole quiet quitting and everything else that was happening at the time.
Yeah, I remember that trend.
Their agency walls, but I did feel cautious about asking our staff to do that. And the way we were trained to offer the 4-day week was just that it was an offer. It wasn't being mandated. People could continue to work the way they did before, achieve 100% in 5 days. That was up to them. But we felt as employers that it was a really great thing to be offering our staff at that time in particular. So we went to work on training them, helping them understand what it was, and then each person was asked to opt in or out of the trial.
And how many people did you have, an exact number, but as a sort of ratio, how many people opted in versus out?
Oh, 100% were in.
All right, yeah, great.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah.
And 100% found it really hard.
Yeah, right. Okay, so it wasn't sort of a straightforward turn the lights on, away we go, and it's straightforward. There's some challenges. What do you think the people sort of struggled with the most over that time?
Definitely this start was the hardest. We probably could have done it over a few months. In actual fact, that's kind of how we do it now. So helping them understand what 100% looks like, where there are efficiencies to be had, how to measure progress towards that 100% productivity is really hard. And I think the other thing that's really hard is the agency, or our business in this case, was giving people that day. They were being paid to take that day off. So there is some kind of expectation that you're doing something with that time that helps you become a better professional when you're at work.
Right.
So That's kind of feels a bit much, doesn't it? And suddenly you're kind of asking people to behave a certain way in their personal lives. But ultimately, I think everyone found their way to rise to that challenge. For me, the leader, my example was to find more purpose in my life and to spend that time connecting with loved ones, working on fitness, seeing the dentist, whatever it is, but kind of finding that path to my better self, and then coming in more inspired and more productive as a result of how I behaved outside of the office on that day in particular, but also how that impacted my life more broadly. So because it was something that I felt very passionate about, I think the team could see that and see the opportunity for them through that. And I think that's the main thing, is that if people are going to try it, it really does need to, I mean, we're trained to do it from the bottom up, that the team were meant to own it, but ultimately you do need to model the behavior that you want to see from your team. And it resonated really well with me. And so I think that was a great result for us. But I do think the 4-day week is not for everyone. Not for everyone as a staff member, but also not for everyone as a leader. Yeah.
Right.
It asks
and it's clear to me, obviously, with your passion, it would be successful because you're driving it. Certainly at the top, that's really important. When you say it's not for everyone, would you say because some industries and sectors just mean it's almost very, very difficult to articulate or have that set up? Or do you mean it's just some people are just not going to work in the way that they like to work, even though they have the option to do it?
Yeah, I mean, not everyone wants to turn everything up to 11. Do you want to turn work up to 11? Do you want to turn your personal life up to 11? Not everyone's wired like that. I happen to be. In whatever I'm doing, let's do it.
Right.
So it worked really well for me. Modeling, I think, worked well for the team. And I also think there's obviously the challenge of not every industry can do this. So we are learning that over time. For example, education is a really difficult one. My wife's a teacher. They're now starting to do that in the US because they've got a crisis. So they've kind of reached out to methods like this to increase productivity with less. But then they're also leaning on the community, so families of the students, to help them continue the learning, which is a really lovely example. So I look forward to learning more about how others are doing it. Law is another one. Like us, they sell time. So when you reduce 20% time, how do you not have 20% less billings? It's not easy, right? So there is some inherent challenges with the model. But I do feel strongly that over time, we've all learned to be really productive. We have tools and technologies that allow us to do so much more than, say, back when the 40-hour week work was mandated. So much has changed since then. So the amount that I can do as a person or within the business is way greater than it was back then. So the question I ask people to think about is, how much is enough? Right?
Yeah.
So when you think about how productive you can be, do it just because I can do more now. Does that mean I should? What if I didn't and it worked for other people and we help restore balance in the world? There are some really great ways to think about this.
Yeah, I think that's definitely challenging it. And I like the fact that you're saying around that extra day, doing something for yourself rather than, we have been victim, I think, of just the burnout culture of just do more and more. And it only leads to burnout, really. But the balance,
be careful about that.
Yeah, I think the balance that you've mentioned is really important. And what about, I'm interested with, so for instance, your organization, you would have clients that would have needs across the week. Do you close your office on one particular day, or how do you service your clients who are in need of something? And I don't know whether
so we make sure that the office remains open 5 days a week, but most people take the Wednesday off. That's the idea, because we found through testing, so through the pilot that we did with 4-day week global, we were able to basically test everything. Literally every single thing that we did went under the microscope, including when to take the time off. Do we all take the time off on a Monday? Do some of us take it on a Tuesday? How do we mix that up? And over time, we all found just 110% that Wednesdays off was the best. Worked phenomenally well. So 2 days on, 1 off, 2 days on, 2 days off. It's a great cadence. It's really hard to beat. But of course, we do need to kind of be responsive on Wednesdays still. Other people aren't necessarily doing the 4-day week. And if they are, they're not necessarily off on the Wednesday. But the main thing for us from a client perspective is, as a marketing agency, we need to be producing great work. We need to be delivering work on time and on budget. Because of our shift to focus on productivity alone was so significant that the clients actually got better work from us. We were more refreshed. They got work on time, on budget, 100%. there was no loss in client satisfaction, which was actually probably increased, and that was really heartwarming to see.
Yeah, great. So if we were interested in it, I'm sure people listening will be, what's the best way to find out more, to sort of start the journey for a trial and implementation?
Yeah, so I'd probably look at what 4-Day Week Global are offering. They now have ways to learn online, but I do think it's probably best to do some kind of in-person training. We are very passionate about it here. People can feel free to call the office here in Melbourne. I will talk to them about it all day long. And in fact, we've done that. We've consulted with people and helped them understand how to make this work for their business. So really happy to help, but I'll definitely start with the experts at 4-Day Week Global.
Great. All right. Well, thank you very much for your insights. It's clear you can see the passion involved, which makes a huge difference. And if anyone is interested, of course, you've mentioned how to go about that, and really appreciate your time today.
Great. Most welcome.
All right. Thanks very much. Thanks, Nick.
Thanks, Ben.
So looking at our social media poll, so do you think that Aussie workers should make more of a fuss of their working conditions? Well, overwhelming yes, 85.6%. So there you have it. It's a definite yes for that. So we'll see if something can actually eventuate, and we'll keep a tab on this, report back in the new year, see if there's changes at all. For the next poll, we've got, if your workplace offered a 4-day work week, would you opt in? So we heard that we had 100% opt in for the walk agency, but let's see if everybody would be up for that. So obviously, absolutely sign me up or not. So look forward to seeing next week what will happen with those. Great. Well, that's it for the show. Really appreciate it. I hope you can join us for next week, and look forward to seeing you all then.